Setting up scaffolding for the tubular C fastening and MPI. The scaffold for the tubular C fastening is set up in order for the welders to continue the C fastening. The MPI team are also carrying out the checks on the welds to ensure that there is no crack on the weld length during the course of the welding. The tubulars for the C fastening were lifted onto the barge to ensure that the C fastening is completed in good time, while the equipment used during the cause of the loadout was being loaded onto the truck, convening it to Warri where the equipment was brought from. Aligning of C fastening tubulars to the LQ structure. The tubulars for the C fastening were lifted and welded into position by using a come-along jack to bring it close to the welding point as much as possible. And hook up and sail away. The Sana 2 is the seagoing tug to take the DB-LQ barge to DB Field. The hookup was conducted under the supervision of the local surveyor and certified fit to sail, and COA certificate of approval was issued to us for sail away, which was eventually done. The barge refurbishment has been completed and preparation to move on where the LQ situated in readiness for the loadout. The harbor tugboats are pulling the barge in readiness for the hookup with the barge. The deck hands ensure that the tug is properly secured to the barge with the help of the tug winch. Barge sailing from Abiloma through Okirika to On. The barge set out for sailing from Akpo's jetty in Abiloma, passing through the bridge piles just around Okirika town. The barge passing through the piles has to be carefully and properly done so we don't have any collision of the barge and the bridge piles. The barge going in the company of the naval security gunboats. Barge arrived FLT on. The barge arrived on terminal and sailed towards the FLT where the LQ structure seated. With the clearance given from the on-terminal intels, the barge was berthed alongside the full terminal just by the DBLQ, and the terminal officers have to inspect the position of the barge along the jetty. Barge preparation. The equipment needed for the loadout has to be arranged on the barge, like the mooring winch, ballast pumps, mooring lines, compressor E.T.C for the mooring winch. It has to be welded to the deck of the barge, and the welding machines is needed for that operation. The personnel that carry out this task are being given work vests to enable access to the barge. For the operation, the ballast tanks need to be open to aid ballasting in order for the barge to get to the level of the quayside. The dimension control are also marking out the travel path of the AHT using total station. This is to enable the trailer and the LQ structure to do less manœuvring when they climb the barge. The barge was repositioned on the stern position where the AHT will access the barge from. The ballast tank will also be ballasted to the level of the quayside, and the mooring ropes will be stretched out at this stage. The reason for this is because the barge needs to be rigid as much as possible during when the AHT will be accessed the barge with the LQ structure. Ramp positioning for the AHT drive path. The ramp linking the quayside and the barge is put in place to ensure the linear movement of the AHT from the stacking area into the barge by driving through the ramp. JJ for the loadout. Safety briefing for the personnel to carry out the task. This exercise is to re-emphasize the dangers spotted during the risk assessment of the operation and to ensure that everyone is carried along for this task. Personnel from CNL, KPL, Intels, and SEMS all spoke during this JJ.
Many of us know what JSA is, job safety analysis. So the thing is, what we are going to be doing, we break them into different bits. Breaking them into different bits, we now look at the hazard associated with each of those bits, and we look for a way to mitigate those hazards. So, mitigating those hazards so that we have a seamless operation, safe operation. We load the living quarters on the barge safely. Everyone needs to know what he needs to do while we are doing the work.
One of the hazards is crushing of Newman. So basically, as the drivers are going, nobody should be on the pathway. Okay. Can we all hear that? Immediately we start the operation, we condone this place. Only very few who will be doing the controlling the call that will be there. Is that okay, please?
You have what we call the yellow line barrier.
Yeah.
Okay? Close to the key. Once you have nothing to do with, you don't have a work vest or a life vest, you have no business at the edge of the queue.
The rolling of the LQ commenced and the ballasting was also going on simultaneously. as the tugboats are pushing the barge in order for it not to have clearance between the quayside and the barge. A lot of back and forth to ensure that the grillage of the LQ are properly seated on the base plate welded on the barge already. The LQ structure has been positioned on the barge, and the 2 files of HT have been taken out of the barge. The next line of action is to secure the LQ structure on the barge. The C-fastening of the LQ grillage to the deck of the barge is currently going on, as doubler plate is fitted to the stiffeners of the grillages and welding continued. To ballasting and preparing barge for sail way condition. The barge was being emptied of the ballast water used during the load out. These waters need to go out to make the barge light and easy to pull during sail away. Positioning the barge alongside. The mooring ropes are being removed to enable the barge stay alongside to the quayside for the C-fastening to continue, and also to remove tension from the mooring lines being held down by the mooring winches. Setting up scaffolding for the tubular C-fastening and MPI. The scaffold for the tubular C-fastening is set up in order for the welders. To continue the C-fastening, the MPI team are also carrying out the checks on the welds to ensure that there is no crack on the weld length during the course of the welding. The tubulars for the C-fastening were lifted onto the barge to ensure that the C-fastening is completed in good time, while the equipment used during the cause of the loadout was being loaded onto the truck, convening it to Warri where the equipment was brought from. Aligning of C-fastening tubulars to the LQ structure. The tubulars for the C-fastening were lifted and welded into position by using a come-along jack to bring it close to the welding point as much as possible. And hook up and sail away. The Sanet 2 is the seagoing tug to take the DB-LQ barge to DB Field. The hookup was conducted under the supervision of the local surveyor and certified fit to sail, and COA certificate of approval was issued to us for sail away, which was eventually done. The barge refurbishment has been completed and preparation to move on with the LQ situated in readiness for the loadout. The harbor tugboats are pulling the barge in readiness for the hookup with the barge. The deck hands ensure that the tug is properly